Okay, well, it looks like a few people signing in, so we'll get started. So thank you very much for everyone for taking the time. As you join the call, you should see a poll joining if you're Zooming on Zoom. I know we're streaming on Facebook as well today. So if you're on Zoom, please fill in the survey just to get an idea of where people are today, what the biggest challenges are, etc. So yeah, the main point that we want to get across today is not to panic. Try and come up with a plan. Try and think, what do the coming days, weeks, and months look like for you and your business, and don't panic. So very roughly today, we're going to go through a little bit of mindset from an action coach perspective. We often go through this first with clients to get your head around the way you need to approach this. Then we'll go into 11 steps you can take now to support your business. The extra support that's available. I know we're getting announcements all the time coming through on the media, so take a look at those, and also what actions you can take and opportunities to connect. So a little bit about us for those that aren't familiar with Action Coach. We're the world's #1 business coaching firm in 1,000 offices in 80, I think it's 88 countries worldwide now, also in Russia more recently. It's a privately owned organization, but franchised out, and we're operating in the business, in the Birmingham region rather, with the vision of creating world abundance through business re-education, which very simply is how can we, particularly in these difficult times, create abundance by going back to the business principles, the business essentials that all of us need to have successful businesses. And we coach businesses all over the world. Some of you may be familiar with Steve. He's actually at home self-isolating at the moment. So you've got me today. My name's Glenn Cameron. I'm heading up the Birmingham franchise for Action Coach. I'm also a fellow with the Institute of Directors. I've built and sold my own businesses over many years, and then more recently came on board with Action Coach previously as a client, which was an interesting time for me. Learned a lot about myself and what I can do to grow the business. And in the last year, I've taken on the franchise to try and help business owners to grow their businesses and get that fulfillment. And right now, I'm just here to help as many people as I can. So if you can pop in the question box or in the chat box, any blinding flashes of the obvious that come through, we call them BFOs. So that's something that is so obvious that's just come out of some of the discussion that we're having today. And anybody who on the call today has any questions, Emily behind the scenes is monitoring those questions, so she'll push them through to me, or we can probably technically get you unmuted if we need to. But as you join in the call, as I say, please do feel free to fill in the poll so we get a little bit of an idea where people are, whether they're seeing business getting better, worse, the same, and where the challenges are coming from. So just going back to the presentation we're working on, sorry, slight IT hitch there. So yeah, the choice is yours, and never more so than at a time like this. We talk about what we call the point of power. So many people in this kind of situation like to blame. Our good friend, the American president, is currently talking about the Chinese virus, for example. There's also talk of excuses. People don't want to buy the product or service that I have been offering, or this denial, just putting your head in the sand. And those are the why me. They're what they're below this point of power. What we need to do to be successful in life generally, and again, even more so in today's climate, is to take ownership, to be accountable for our own actions, and to be responsible. So every time you're facing a question right now, think, is it above that point of power or is it below? And always try and make it above that point. Think about how we can do. So if I quote the grim Jim Rohn, he said, "Never wish your life were easier, wish that you were better. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job." And that's exactly what you need to do. We never need to sit there wallowing in self-pity. We need to think, how can we be better? How can we strive to improve ourselves, to be better in what might be difficult circumstances? They might well be outside of our control, but we still have control of ourselves and what we do every day. So if we look at I was going to show you a slide there, but that's not working. So if we go straight into the 11 steps, the first step is very literally what I was just talking about, being positive. So panic and worry never help. What you need to do is you need to look for those small wins at the moment to keep that positivity going. So they might be getting a sale. They might be keeping a customer, frankly, right now. They could be a change to your route to market, and think of ways to celebrate them. Celebrate those successes to keep that positivity going. And then think about, what can I do differently? So, could I sell toilet paper? What is there that I could be doing that the market needs that I can supply? So the pubs that are trying to innovate and do delivery, that kind of way of thinking, that's what you need to do. And sometimes less news is better. So you could sit at home, as a number of us are at present, and look at the BBC News, the Sky News, get focused on the negativity, focused on the daily updates, opinions, pessimistic views, but actually focus on just what you need to know. Maybe just focus on that 5 p.m. Downing Street briefing. Get the facts that you need, read a few good websites. We'll put a link up. We've put some information on our website to try and collate some of the government information out there for those that are unsure where they need to go. But that's really what you need to spend your time doing to keep that positivity going. And if you're the leader of your business, you need to start showing that leadership. People are looking for that positivity. If you own a business and you have employees and you're shutting yourself in your office or in your house and not taking phone calls, that's what your team's going to think it's over. So you need to lead by example. So, and frankly, in this context, people is not just the people maybe within your business, but it needs to be your customers, suppliers. You need to push that positivity throughout. And how do you push that positivity? We need to communicate, frankly. At times like this, it's never more important to communicate firstly with your team, if you have one. And frankly, I always say when we're talking about team and Action Coach, that everybody has a team. Your team could be your other half, it could be a friend, it could be your family, it could be your extended family. There are always people that are supporting you in what you do in your daily life. And those are the people that you first need to communicate what you're doing, what your challenges are, and how you can move forward. Secondly, you need to communicate with your customers. So I've seen a number of great examples over the last few days and weeks of companies proactively communicating, standing up, doing webcasts or webinars like this to communicate, recording short video clips, sending out emails, sending out letters saying, this is our reaction to what's going on in the world. This is how we're going to treat you as a customer. I was talking on, we did a webinar the other day. I was giving the example of Sky, for example. They sent me an email going, really appreciate you as a customer. You can pause your Sky Sports subscription because there aren't any sports to watch. You can have free data on your mobile phones, free calls if you're a Sky Talk customer, and all the things that are kind of reassuring you that they care, so that the company cares about its customers and that you're going to do something different. Secondly, you need to think about your networks. Who's in your network and what do we need to communicate to them? And so that could be suppliers, could be strategic partners. So think about what are all those stakeholders and what do we need to do to communicate with them, and how are we doing it? Do we do it through social media? We're pushing this out on social media now so we can communicate not just with clients, but frankly, anyone in the business community that just needs to hear some sanity on concrete steps that you could actually be taking, what you could be doing right now. And also help the community, people that you don't necessarily have a business relationship with today, but what do they want to hear? And it varies according to the sector. And if anybody wants to chime in with questions at any point, feel free to pop those in. Love to hear what different challenges people are facing. So the third step is to know the cycles. So if we take the seasons that, for many businesses, we've been on a roll. If you look at the stock markets, for example, most recently they've had this real summer run. So it's been a great summer season. And quite often after the summer season, we've seen it before, you do get into the autumn. Some of the leaves start to fall off the trees, metaphorically speaking. And then you could move into a winter phase. But out of that winter phase comes the spring. So what you need to think about is, what does that time horizon look like? And economically, these cycles rotate on a roughly 17-year cycle. So we, in the nicest possible way, we're due a kind of autumn to come along. It's been predicted for a while. Nobody knew this was going to be, or the severity of it, don't get me wrong. But equally, we need to think about how we react in these different cycles. And we've been through these cycles in business before. And there are ways that we can react that make the best use of that particular time. So as you come to an autumn winter phase, if you can't capitalize during that phase particularly well because of the nature of the business and the challenge that's being faced in that season, think about what you can do to prepare for spring and for the next summer. And that could be focusing on your marketing. It could be anything. And we've got some indications coming of how long these cycles might last from some of the experiences in other countries, China, Italy, etc. So start to think about that. So the fourth step is start to make change, because the only constant in life, to use that famous quote, is change itself. And the first thing is to get ahead. Think about where you want to be. Lead that change. Don't react to it. Make it happen. And there's a simple formula that we use about taking action. And it really looks at the dissatisfaction times your vision plus the first steps has to be greater than the resistance to get there. And right now, frankly, there is a lot of resistance out there. And so what you need to do is harness that dissatisfaction with those, particularly with those first steps, is what I would say is the focus. And so looking at several key areas, you can think about what those change options are. And they're going to, again, vary from business to business. So happy to talk through if anyone wants to chime in at any point, or we've got follow-up coaching sessions we're giving to any business in the community that needs them right now. But think about the products that you have. Some people are service companies rather than products, a mix of them. But what products and services can you offer? Are you offering? What kind of pricing strategies are you using? Now, in that sense, I would always advise, don't make it a race for the bottom. Don't think you can always compete on price, because there's always someone that can sell it for less than you. And particularly in this current climate, there's a lot of, frankly, perceiving desperate people. So think about how that pricing could be a win-win scenario where people get value, but you also get the cash flow that you need to keep your business going. How can we deliver? Obviously, that's a big change for a number of businesses. Whether that's delivery in terms of physical delivery, so rather than people going to a fixed location where people congregate, which is what we're trying to avoid as a society right now, or all over the world, frankly, to one-to-one deliveries, remote deliveries where there isn't that one-to-one contact. It could be in a service-oriented capacity, like right now. I might ordinarily be delivering a seminar in front of a group of people in a room where we all congregate together, but today I'm doing it on a webinar and everyone's dialing in from their remote locations. And equally, how do you staff your business? That's going to be a change for different people, but what does that look like? And frankly, it may be that you need to change the whole business. If you were running a restaurant last week, it may be that's not particularly sustainable when you've been told to close down. So what could you do? It may be that you need to entirely pivot the entire business into something different. So think about what that could be. And then break it. Fundamentally, try things. We would always say, actually, Coach, one of our favorite phrases is test and measure. But yeah, if you're going to try something different, you may need to break what went before. Right. Sorry, I just lost the pointer again. So the next step that we would advise is to consider cutting back. because frankly, if there is unless you're a toilet roll manufacturer or a hand sanitizer, that there's going to be challenges ahead for a lot of people, and cash is king. So getting that cash and hanging on to it is really critical right now. So stop spending where you don't need to. And that can mean a lot of things for different people. On a call the other day, someone said, if you usually travel around business class or first class, maybe you need to think about, is that really necessary in the current climate, where you're trying to preserve that cash. So a lot of businesses, the larger businesses, they're cutting their dividends to shareholders or not paying them at all, stopping bonuses, corporate compensation packages. But even on a small level, it's, not that you can necessarily go out and get as many coffees right now, but where can you reduce those outlays and renegotiate with your key suppliers? Yes, they'll be in a similar scenario, but equally they want to keep you as a customer. They would rather that you're a sustainable business that can carry on through this and keeps paying them something than rip it out of you in the short term and then struggle shortly after. Sometimes it may be a case of slowing things down. If there were growth plans, you may want to revisit those. But sometimes it goes back to what we were just talking about on the previous slide of if the growth plan or the things that you were looking to do pivot you into a different area, now could indeed be the time to capitalize on those. So the really important thing is keep marketing and selling. So the temptation is to cut back on the marketing and the selling. I'll stop my advertising or my social media activity or whatever it is that you use for marketing. If you do that, you're drying up your sales funnel. And that could give you challenges immediately, depending on your sales cycle. But it will certainly give you challenges in the short, not just the short term, but potentially the medium to long term. So marketing and selling, does the marketing need to change? Probably. The marketing that worked last week probably isn't going to work this week. The world has fundamentally changed. The messaging needs to be different. I know if I see adverts now and that they haven't been altered in the last week or two, it kind of grates slightly. So really continue with that marketing, but proactively consider what the message it's giving across is, and is that the right one for right now? So step 6, extend credit. So yeah, absolutely. Get it now while they're still lending. There is the potential, we went through it in previous autumns, to use the seasonal analogy we were talking about earlier. So credit lines and credit cards, whatever options you've got, that could be for you in the business, could be personal as well. Certainly if you're a small business owner funding the business, the fact that you've got access to credit personally is really important, not just for your personal life, but in case you need to support the business to keep it going, and refinance if you have to. So obviously it's challenging times, but there is a lot of government support, which I will go into in a little bit more depth at the end of this call and take any questions on, although I don't think everybody is clear on the answers to a lot of those questions now. I've still got questions, but this is how we all grow. This is how we thrive and survive, frankly, in this climate, is by working together. So look out for the lowest rates. The Bank of England, obviously, in the last week have lowered the interest rate a couple of times. So there is affordable funding out there that can support you. Now, step 7 is not a nice step to get to, because people are relationships, and we need to delicately handle this. So some of the steps you can consider taking are, taking vacations. I was talking to someone this morning. She said, well, when it all gets back to normal, whatever normal looks like, everyone can't take their holiday at once. So it's a really soft conversation at the moment, if you're able to talk about taking vacations. And if there are going to be radical changes, and obviously the government have given out support in the last over the weekend, or just before the weekend, to paying up to 80% of what they're calling furloughed, which is a new word in employment law. But the idea is that you don't need to get rid of people, that the government would support you in keeping them on the payroll. But if there is the need to cut people, I would strongly advocate doing it, being decisive and making that decision at once, rather than by attrition. That death by 1,000 cuts analogy, that will just reduce morale, because everyone's always fearful, I'm going to be the next ones. So yeah, sometimes you just have to, and pay cuts are an option. There are all sorts of things that you can do. We talked about suspending bonus programs earlier. So all sorts of things to rejig that staffing within your business that you can consider. So step 8 is planning that work from home. So technology is needed. Today we're running this webinar via Zoom. Zoom's a very popular technology. There's a plethora of others. Microsoft Teams comes through, 365 if you use that. If you use Google Suite, they have Hangouts. So there's lots of ways of fostering collaboration from a remote scenario. It's really important though to keep in touch with your remote team. Use this technology in the best way you can, and still have those meetings and reporting. They may need to be structured differently, but frankly, I find it almost better, because the collaboration is easier, where you can share documents in real time in front of each other, rather than peering over or a distant screen that maybe people can't read. So there is power in the innovation, but make sure that your customer service doesn't suffer. Again, this shouldn't be difficult in the technological age that we're in now. Telephone numbers can be diverted. Emails can be picked up from anywhere. CRMs are usually cloud-based, or even if you still have an on-premise deployment, VPNs, etc. So access to the systems, it shouldn't be the problem. People should be able to provide the same level of service, or a better level of service. There may be practical considerations, banking, for example. Some people still rely on physical banking if you don't have online banking or telephone banking, those kind of things. How are you going to move the cash around, and where is post coming into? Will somebody still be visiting that location to receive mail in and send mail out? So thinking about those methods of communication when a number or maybe all of your team are working from home, how will you manage that and communicating amongst us? And yes, certainly when we started delivering these webinar series, it may be weeks, but certainly the more we're hearing, there is talk in months up to a year, some or more. Some are talking about. So thinking about something that's scalable, long term. Also start to consider security of that technology. Your data is now being spread out, where you may have been previously comfortable with computers sitting in a physical office environment. Now it's all spread out. Are people using laptops that you've provided? Are they using their own? Are you comfortable with that? Because the business still has responsibility for that, and data breaches, etc., are very easy. Particularly at the moment, I was only hearing this morning about scam emails going around, which say, oh, here's how you can apply for government funding. People click on it. Trojans that then install. People have control, have access to data, and the business can ultimately be responsible. And it's something we definitely don't need at this time. So steps we need to take now. We need to add delivery if certainly if we're a physical company. How can we do that? How can we deliver things different? So we've talked about pubs previously, restaurants. They're trying to pivot on this. Can it be an online or a phone delivery? As I say, this could be in a service capacity, not just in a product inventory capacity. Staffing changes. What needs to change there? If you previously had people standing in a shop to sell your products over the counter, you're going to need different types of people with vehicles to deliver, or you're going to need to subcontract that to a third party. So there will be changes needed in a staffing capacity. But very literally, and the shop analogy is a great one, where previously you might have had, say, a premium spot in a shopping centre or a high street, and that was kind of worth a certain amount because you've got the passing trade. That's not now there. We're being discouraged from getting out and the casual trade in that sense. So now we need to go to the market. We need to go to the people that need the products or the services that we can supply, and consider how we're going to market that out. And there will be considerations like packaging. If we've not previously been delivering products, it's great that restaurants are pivoting and saying we'll offer delivery, but different food types, there's going to be challenges there. What you can serve up on a plate it's not necessarily as easy to put in a box, and it still be valuable to the person when they unpackage it to have their dinner or their meal. And yeah, financially, how do you account for that? What processes need to change from that? If you previously ran a till, an EPOS system, but very simple in that context to run on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, total change if you're now moving to an online method of managing your inventory, managing the orders, managing the billing, etc. But the big step, yet again, reinforce, is that communication with the customer, so they know what is available, how you can deliver it, and how they can access it. So reinforce, step 10, market and sell. Don't stop. As we said earlier, we have to keep marketing. It should be an increase, definitely not a decrease. But there is scope for negotiation on these things. Yeah, everybody's in business. So if you're working with an agency, yeah, they're going to want to keep you in business. They'll realize you might have a challenged cash flow. So negotiate on that, where you might have been able to pay up front for a package for someone to design and deliver it in 3 months' time. That may be more of a challenge now, but equally they would like the reassurance of having the work. So definite scope for negotiation. Scope for negotiation on your side as well. What new offers and rates can you create in your business? So as I said earlier, don't just think I need to lower all my prices, because that's a race for the bottom, and it won't be sustainable. It won't keep you in business for the next few months or up to a year that we're trying to cater for right now. So think of how you can do that on a more consumption level, which is generally where a lot of businesses have been going anyway. You look at the iTunes world that we've created. Everything's on subscription, whereas people used to buy music, they now consume it for a small monthly fee. Now, if you can do something to build a subscription in your subscription model in your own business, think about how much value for the longer term. So a lot of these things will force us to innovate through the adversity that we're currently facing, but actually there may have been things that we should have considered before. We talk about the 5 ways in Action Coach, so for clients they'll be intimately familiar with that. For anybody on the call that hasn't come across it, probably haven't got time to go into it on this particular call, but definitely drop me a line. I'll set up a call with you. We can run through what it looks like on your business. But really, at a high level, what we're looking at is not just about the revenue or the sales or even your profit. It's about focusing on how many leads you're getting into your business, what's your conversion rate on those, how many things are you selling, what are they worth, and what are your operating margins look like. If you focus on those, that they'll by far get you the best results. Also, get cash up front where you can. Back to cash is king. You need to be getting the cash up front to keep the business rolling. So really focus on that. So we talked about getting subscription business, but repeat business is where you need to go at the moment, in particular, as part of this 11-step process. Focus on those existing customers. They already know you. They hopefully know, trust, like you. They're the referral opportunity as well. So look after them. Create deals just for them. The value. Like the example I was giving. Sky is saying, "Yep, you're a valued customer. Here's this offer." For once, they're giving me a better deal than they would give the new customer signing up on the website, because they want to keep their subscriber base on board. So they could be, depending on the business that you're in, it could be bulk buys, cash up front. There are all sorts of incentives that you want to do. But frankly, if you've got customers that are still with you in this kind of climate, you need to keep them at all costs. And again, reinforced. It's on most of the slides, you've probably gathered by now, but communication is vital. So step 12, I said there are 11 steps, but actually I've inserted a 12th one just to confuse. Common sense. I can't overemphasize in life how frustrating it is that common sense isn't more prevalent. So over-deliver on customer service. We talked about customer service earlier and how important it wasn't compromised by people working from home, for example. But I can't overemphasize how important it is to over-deliver, to do more than would ordinarily be expected. We're doing that in our business. All of our customers now have full access to us. They have full access to marketing masterclasses, to planning systems, to online courses. We're going over-delivering to anybody that's a customer of us, because we're in business to help businesses. Right now, businesses need as much help. So think in your own business, what's the biggest need of your customers, and how can you over deliver on that to give them a great experience? So I mean this is common advice if you're still running an environment where people are interacting. Clean it, don't touch it, provide the sanitizer, put people first. It's not about well, obviously profit is important, but at this stage it's about the people first, and that should be your primary driver. And kind of, if you do the right things, that the right results will come. But also be nice and take a chill pill. It's disheartening, I think, is probably too mild a word, frankly, to hear from several business owners that I've spoken to in the last week about the reaction from some people. So clearly we are in, for many people, desperate times. They're not sure where their future income is going to come from, so they're frustrated. But we're all in the same boat to differing extents, but that doesn't mean that we should start to show each other disrespect. And I think we need to do that, and that's what we should expect as well from everyone, is common sense and respect for each other. Be nice and take that chill pill, as it says there. And of course, don't buy too much toilet paper. Don't go to the supermarket and overstock. I mean, I think there's talk already today of rationing coming in. So we are kind of in that era where, ironically, we shouldn't need rationing, because there is bountiful supply for everyone if people weren't overbuying. So act responsibly in that sense. So as a quick recap, we've got a few people on the call. Had a few poll responses in. Emily, have you had any questions come in yet on your side?
Nope, not as of yet anyway.
Not in the question box. Okay, no problem. So we talked about it earlier, the real importance of test and measure. So make sure you're doing that. And people at this point say, well, why would I need a coach? And this is true even more so, I would say, now than at any point. I'm a business coach, so I'm slightly biased in this. But don't take my word for it. Look at professional sports people. As Tiger Woods said, no matter how tough you think you are, you can't do this on your own. And right now, you don't need to do it on your own. We're here. And, if you're a business in the Birmingham area, my mission for the next few weeks and months is just to help as many people as I can. And, I'm available. We'll continue to do these webinars as frequently as we can. We'll continue to run. We're doing 90-day sessions, because I think that's the best time window for people to plan right now. And you ought to have a kind of plan. How will I survive the next 90 days? But not just a survival plan. How can I thrive? What can I do different? So taking those 11, 12, with common sense, steps that we've been covering and building that into something. We've got sessions on those. We're now doing them over Zoom, naturally, because face-to-face meetings are deprecated. So if you're interested in that. In terms of the government-led support, there's government-led support, which Emily, can you share that Point Drive link on the chat for people? That's got a link to all the government advice. I know some came out this morning to go into the 80% issue in particular, as well as some of the government loans, what they will back. The real focus there is you've got some of the stuff that came out a week or so ago. That's the £10,000 if you've got a rateable value up to, I think it's about £10,000 then, or maybe 20. So the full details are on there. So check out the Point Drive link. Emily's just put it in the chat for you. On the same link, we've also got Facebook are giving support as well. So back to carry on marketing, making that investment. Facebook are investing to help businesses in that sense. And from Action Coach side, as I say, we're doing webinars. We're also offering free coaching sessions to any business that needs it, just to bounce off 20 minutes, half an hour with us. If you need longer, I'll give any business as long as they need at the moment, just to help out. So we've talked about some of the government loan stuff, the sick pay. Government will cover the cost of sick pay. So if people are off with coronavirus, I know we've had people in our own organisation already affected by it and continuing to be so. for the tax holidays, you do need to have a justification. So make sure your numbers are up to date. We're looking at running another webinar actually on how you could build that basic cash flow in a really short space of time. So anybody that's interested, keep an eye on the website or message us directly, and we can help you with that, because it's not, so certainly some of the loans, you will need the justification. Why do I need it? How will I be able to afford to pay it back? The insurance side, check if you've got cover for pandemics. I know some people have policies that do, some people that don't. So there may be support out there. And suppliers, as I say, they're in business to stay in business as well. So don't assume that there isn't support going to be available from suppliers. Most proactive suppliers, if they're following the steps that we've just articulated, they'll be doing the same thing. What can we do to over-service our existing customers? So check in with them, ask them what they can do. There may be an assumption if you don't ask that you don't need the help because you're not affected by what's going on. Facebook, we say $100 million announced as Business Boots grants. Sign up, details in the chat. We're doing the free coaching sessions. The URL's there. Book on. You can book on with myself, Steve, or Julie as well. We're also doing discounted 90-day planning. They're half-price sessions, 3 hours roughly on Zoom to create your 90-day plan. Connect with us on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, if you're not already. Look on our website, drop us an email, give us a call. We're here. So I would say sign up to make your 90-day plan. Don't have to make it with us if you want to make one on your own, but everyone should have one. You should be looking at how long can I survive for, and what do I need for that to make it happen? And then how can I thrive? What can I do to make it better? So out of today, what I'd really like to see is everybody listing 5 ideas that you can take action on today. So I always try and avoid the term homework. It sounds kind of schooly. So we always talk about growth work. Right now, it could be survival work, thrive work, whatever appeals to you. But that's really what you need to start focusing on in your business is just make a small list, even if it's only 5 items. What can you do to move this forward? So I just wanted to open up finally, if anyone on the call wants to chime in with any questions, either put your hand up or unmute yourself. Don't think we had anything pop in the question box, Emily, did we?
Nope.
No. Okay. So follow up. Thank you everybody for your time today. Really appreciate it. We kept it to about the 40 minutes in the absence of questions today, but we will continue to run these. We'll update the content and look forward to hearing from you. It's really important on this time that we all do stay together and we all help each other. So I for one, am here to do that. So thank you very much to everybody for joining us today.